He walked into the crowd wearing the wrong clothes, on purpose. In a city that judged a man by his robe, Cato dressed like a beggar and dared them to laugh. And they did. They pointed, they whispered, and he felt every burning second of it, because that was exactly the point. Now ask yourself something. When was the last time a single fear of looking stupid, of being judged, of failing out loud, quietly ran your entire day? You already know the answer, so here is the question that should keep you here until the end. How did a man surrounded by enemies, mockery, and the threat of death teach himself to feel fear and move anyway? In about 5 seconds, because he left behind a code, and modern psychology is only now proving it works. Rome, 1st century before Christ, the Republic is rotting from the inside, and in the middle of it stands a young man who refuses to be bought. His name is Cato, and unlike almost every politician around him, he cannot be bribed, flattered, or frightened into silence. But he was not born fearless. That is the part everyone gets wrong. As a boy, Cato was slow, stubborn. Other children learned quickly and moved on. He sat with things, he chewed on them, and somewhere in that slowness, he noticed something about the adults around him. They were terrified, terrified of losing status, terrified of poverty, terrified of what a crowd might say. And their fear made them liars. It made them cowards in fine clothing. Young Cato made a decision that would define his entire life. He would not be ruled by the things other men feared, but wanting to be fearless and being fearless are two different worlds. So he did something strange, something that made all of Rome think he had lost his mind. He began to practice, not with a sword, not in a gymnasium. He practiced being afraid. He walked through the streets deliberately underdressed, feeling the sting of every stare. He ate the plainest food while rich men feasted. He went bareheaded in the burning sun and barefoot in the cold, on purpose, and people mocked him for it. But here is what almost no one realized about what he was doing. He was not punishing himself. He was training a single muscle, the one that flinches, because Cato had discovered a secret about fear that would take science 2,000 years to catch up to. And it starts with the moment right before you act. Think about that moment for a second. You know it well. There is a message you need to send, a conversation you have been avoiding, a door you need to walk through, and in the half second before you do it, something happens inside you. Your chest tightens. Your mind floods with reasons to wait. Not now, tomorrow, when you feel ready, and so you wait. And the fear wins, not because it was strong, but because you gave it time. That gap, that tiny hesitation, is where almost every human life quietly shrinks. It is where dreams go to die slowly, disguised as good timing. Cato understood this gap better than anyone alive. He saw that fear is not the enemy. Delay is the enemy. Fear is just a feeling, a jolt, a spike, a wave. It rises fast and it fades fast if you let it. But the moment you hesitate, your mind does something cruel. It starts building a case. It gathers evidence. It shows you every way this could go wrong, every eye that might judge you, every version of failure. Within seconds, a small feeling becomes an unclimbable wall. So Cato built his entire philosophy around closing that gap. Feel the fear and move before the mind can talk you out of it. This is the origin of what we might call his 5-second courage code, but he was about to be tested in a way that no training could have prepared him for, because it is one thing to face a mocking crowd. It is another thing entirely to face the most powerful man in the world. His name was Julius Caesar, and he was everything Cato feared for Rome: brilliant, ambitious, and hungry for power that no single man should hold. While others bowed, Cato stood in the Senate and said no, out loud, to his face. Imagine the pressure, the room full of men who had already decided to survive by staying silent, and one voice refusing. There is a famous moment. A note is passed to Caesar during a heated session. Cato, suspicious, demands it be read aloud, convinced it is proof of a conspiracy. Caesar hands it over. Cato reads it, and it is a private love letter from his own sister to Caesar, in front of the entire Senate, the most humiliating thing imaginable. And here is the moment the whole story turns. Cato does not crumble. He does not flush and stammer and run. He throws the letter back and says, "Take it, you drunk." And he keeps speaking. He keeps making his point. Why could he do that? Why did the humiliation not destroy him? Because he had already practiced humiliation 1,000 times in the streets. He had walked underdressed. He had been laughed at on purpose. He had felt the exact sting he was feeling now, and survived it again and again until it lost its power. The shame that would have shattered another man barely slowed him down. This is the deeper secret of the code. You cannot think your way to courage. You have to rehearse it. You have to meet the small fears on purpose, so the big ones find you already trained. And now, 2,000 years later, we have a name for what Cato was doing. We call it exposure. In modern psychology, it is the single most proven treatment for fear and anxiety that exists. The principle is almost insultingly simple. What you avoid grows. What you face shrinks. When you run from a fear, your brain records a quiet lesson. That thing was dangerous, good thing we escaped, and the fear gets stronger. But when you move toward it and survive, your brain updates the file. Not so dangerous after all. Neuroscientists can watch this happen. There is a small, almond-shaped alarm in your brain called the amygdala. It fires before you can think. That spike of dread, that flood of panic. And crucially, it fires fast, then fades. Studies show the raw chemical surge of a fear response burns through your body in roughly 90 seconds. If you do not feed it, 90 seconds. But we feed it. We stand at the edge of the moment, and we think, and we imagine, and we replay, and we pour fuel on a fire that wanted to go out. Cato's genius was refusing to feed it. Act inside the window, move before the story starts. And there is more. Researchers who study courage have found something that sounds exactly like a Roman Stoic. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is action in the presence of fear. The bravest people do not feel less afraid. They have simply trained the gap between feeling and doing until it is almost nothing. That is the whole game. And now it is your turn, because you are standing at that edge more often than you admit. The workout you skip, the idea you never pitch, the truth you never say to the person who needs to hear it. Every one of those is a small senate, a small crowd, a small chance to practice being the person you claim you want to be. So let me give you exactly what to do the next time fear tries to stop you. Here is Cato's code, made simple enough to use tonight. Step 1. Name the moment. The instant you feel that flinch, that pull to delay, recognize it for what it is. This is the gap. This is the window. Do not narrate it. Do not analyze it. Just label it. There it is. Step 2. Count down. Do not count up. Give yourself 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And on 1, you move. Not because you feel ready. You will not feel ready. You move because the count is over. And that is the rule you no longer negotiate with. The countdown does something clever. It interrupts the mind's habit of building its case against you. It replaces the story with a signal. Step 3. And this is the part everyone skips. Practice on small things on purpose. Do not wait for the big, terrifying moment. Be a little Cato. Speak up in the meeting when your heart says stay quiet. Take the cold shower. Send the message now, not tomorrow. Sit with a small discomfort you would normally avoid and let it pass without escaping. Every time you do, you are lifting weight for the muscle that flinches. You are teaching your brain the one lesson it must learn. I can feel this, and act anyway. Do this for a week, and something strange happens. The fears that used to run your day start to feel smaller, not because the world got safer, because you stopped handing them the extra seconds they needed to grow. That is the payoff to the question we started with. How did one man walk into mockery, into power, into death itself without flinching? He never killed his fear. He simply refused to give it time. And when Cato finally died, choosing his principles over a comfortable surrender to Caesar, he died the same way he lived, on his own terms, unafraid of the thing every other man in Rome was terrified of, because he had been practicing his whole life. So here is the truth to carry out of this. Fear is not asking you to be fearless. It is asking you to be faster. The feeling will always come, the spike, the dread, the pull to wait. Let it come, then count down and move. Before the story starts, before the wall goes up, before the moment closes. 5 seconds. That is the whole distance between the person you are and the person you keep promising to become. Cato crossed it 1,000 times. Starting tonight, so can you. If this reached something in you, stay a while, subscribe, and let the next story find you when you need it most.